From KUNC and the NPR network, this is In The NoCo. I'm Erin O'Toole. The 2024 Olympics are underway in Paris, and for the first time ever, breaking will be a part of the Games. Breaking, or breakdancing as it's often called, originated in the Bronx. It began during the 1970s, growing within the larger spectrum of hip-hop culture. And it's more than just the music, the rhythms, and the athletic, visually stunning moves. There's a deep history and culture that surrounds the art of breaking. One instructor at the University of Colorado will be watching especially closely as breaking makes its Olympic debut. Lorenzo Rennie Harris is an artist in residence and the co-director of hip-hop studies at CU Boulder. He works to educate people about breaking and hip-hop culture. Rennie Harris, welcome to In The NoCo.
Hey, what's happening?
Okay, so Rennie, first off, breaking or breakdancing? Which is the preferred term?
Breaking.
Okay.
Break dancing is sort of more of a media term from the 80s.
Oh, okay. And breaking kind of encompasses a little bit more of everything else that goes into it.
Exactly. And if you really want to be proper, is B-boy and B-girl.
Okay.
And so, but however, that could mean a few things. It could mean a person who listens to breakbeat music, a person who dances to breakbeat music, a person from the Bronx, a person who does boogie, which is short for boogaloo for one of the funk styles on the West Coast. And breaking or breaker is the non-binary term.
We know breaking has roots in inner city African American communities and Latino communities and is deeply intertwined with hip hop culture. What should we know about the broader culture of hip hop?
It's an extension of, I think, civil rights movement. The younger generation picked up where the civil rights movement left off. And this, of course, is in the 70s, late 70s, early 80s.
Right.
And it's a celebratory dance. It's a celebratory culture. And in that celebration, we celebrate life. Death is a part of life. So we hear about both things, the positive and negative as well.
Now, Rennie, you yourself have a long relationship with breaking. You performed with a hip hop group in the 80s. How did you get into it? What was that like?
Well, I was with a street dance crew called the Scanner Boys in Philadelphia. We went over to New York and then became a part of Magnificent Force, toured with the first rap tour across the country with Run DMC, Fat Boys, Curtis Blow, Houdini, Nucleus. And so,
big names.
Yes, of course, this is indigenous, right? So meaning indigenous to my culture. So there's no beginning, there's no ending. You just begin, you just start. Dance is part of the culture. And so someone happened to pay me to dance. And I was like, sure. And they kept paying me up until this day. So it's been,
I'm a professional now. This is what I do.
Right, exactly.
Breaking is now an Olympic event for the very first time. What went through your mind when you first learned the news?
I was a little scared at first, because it was, when it goes into full competition mode, I mean, that's the pinnacle of it all is the Olympics, right?
Right.
We were already complaining that these battles or competitions, the cultural aspect of it was being lost. And so now the Olympics are adopting it and doing it. And I'm like, oh man, this is scary because the thought that was that you'll lose the cultural aspect. You'll lose the flavor of it. You'll lose the community part of it, right? And which is, the block parties, the impromptu gatherings and what have you, and all the things that come from that.
A lot of us watching are familiar with more traditional Olympic events like gymnastics. What should we be looking out for when we watch breaking for the first time in the Olympics? What are some of the moves?
First, what we want to look out for is the top rock and then how that person gets down or transitions down to the floor to do floor work. And that's the second thing. And then power moves, right? The power moves are, let's say, a head spin.
Okay.
That person is rotating on their head, no hands, is free. As think of it as when a ballet dancer does pirouettes on point, right?
Yeah, so just upside down.
Exactly. However, in order to get to that head spin, the dancer has to do floor work, which is in a circular motion, to create enough momentum in order to get into that transitional move to get up to the head spin.
Yeah.
And then we generate that around and then go into maybe a windmill where a person is seemingly spinning on their backs, but their legs are in the air and they're rotating on the forehead, around to the back of the head, and a little bit up around the upper back, say, let's say the shoulder blades, right? So there's a windmills. Now you have a lot of momentum, and then you'll swing that right on up into your head spin, and a dancer can continue to go maybe into a 1990 and be like onto one hand, as if they're doing a handstand with one arm, right? But spinning at the same time. So that's sort of a transition from top rock, down rock, power move into transition, or often we would say combination into a different power move.
Well, Rennie, you have become known as a hip hop scholar and an ambassador for street dance and hip hop culture. Why is it important that we understand and preserve that culture in that context?
Well, I think, when we talk about street dance, when we're saying street, we're not meaning we're actually literally dancing in the street. We mean it's a slang to mean community, right? When our moms would yell at us, hey, you're hanging in those streets, get out of those streets all night. You're in the street all night. I was really at my cousin's house or a friend's house or a girlfriend's house.
Literally.
Right. So we're in the community. The street is slang for community, right? And so, like all dance, if you want to know about the dance, you have to know what was happening politically, economically, and socially at the moment that this dance becomes the thing. And that's the most important part. Understand the culture, and then the dance will make so much more sense to you and why folk do what they do. And that's with any culture, right? We just look at, oh, that's really nice. I love the visual and all the things that it brings up visually and physically, right? That's sort of Western lens. But what's behind that, right? And only in American history, I think, specifically with African American Latinos, that our history along with the dance isn't told. We know who Baryshnikov is. We know who Ballantine is,
Right.
All the folk. We know those histories if you're in dance. But in street dance, if I say, well, what's the relevance of B-Boy Spy, or who's Boogaloo Sam, or who's Don Campbell?
Yeah.
No, very few people can answer that question.
All right. I feel really excited to watch breaking make its Olympic debut. Rennie Harris, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your knowledge of breaking and hip hop culture with us.
Oh, thank you very much. It's been my pleasure. I want to make sure I shout out to CU, University of Colorado at Boulder, the Dance and Theater Department, Larry Southall, my co-director for the Hip Hop Certificate at CU. Thank you all, and I'm excited about what we're about to see in the Olympics.
Breaking in the Olympics is underway right now. Friday and Saturday, 16 B-girls and 16 B-boys from around the globe compete for the gold. Judging will be based on 5 categories, including musicality, technique, and originality. And that's it for us today on In The NoCo. I'm Erin O'Toole. Thanks for listening. Have a great weekend.